Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of Startup Stories. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves and your business name?
My name is Maverick Khan, and our business name is Iskotêw Training and Iskotêw Training Incorporated. And I've been with them for about a year and a half now.
Nice.
Tansei Kia, Tanisha Young, Nisnigasun. So my name is Tanisha Young, and I'm also a business owner with Maverick with Iskotêw Training.
Sweet. So tell me a little bit about Iskotêw Training.
I guess we could start with how it came to be. Yeah?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll kind of explain a little bit about it. So the way that it kind of came is I come from a background of firefighting. So I've been on the Lloydminster Fire Department for about 16 years now. And we do a lot of training in Lloydminster, obviously with the fire department. We do lots of structural training, vehicle extrication, medical training. There's a whole pile of training that we do offer. So I used to work with the Chamber of Commerce in Lloydminster with Tanisha, and I remember I came up with the idea, and I said I'm kind of interested in doing some training for youth on reserves. And she came back to me and she's like, that's one of the silliest ideas I've ever heard.
Okay, no.
My business plan was pretty bad.
No. We were at a work event together, and I was watching whatever was unfolding, and Maverick was like, hey, I've been meaning to talk to you. And mind you, we weren't even friends at this point yet, and he's like, I really want to go on reserve and like do fire training. Like, do you know where I go? And I was like, I am not a firefighter. Like, I have no clue. I was like, why don't you just call chief and counselor, like the fire department down there, and figure it out. And so basically I kind of just turned my shoulder to him and was like, I'm not helping you. And then it was again, we were together somewhere else, and he was like, I'm ready to ask you again. I really want to do like youth fire training. And I was like, okay, let's hear what you have to say. And so he sat down with me for like 30 minutes, and he like laid out this plan, and I was like, that's the dumbest idea I ever heard. He wasn't able to answer any of my questions. He didn't like have like a plan. And so eventually, I don't know what happened, but I was like, let me help you get somewhere. And so then I started working on my computer, and then we started coordinating something, and then it was a good idea. And then it all really came together. And so it started off with Maverick's idea, and then, I don't know, we just kind of used each other's like strengths, and then we needed a name. And so the name for Cree, or the name for fire in Cree is Iskotew.
Okay.
So that's fire. And so that's why we just went with Iskotew Training Incorporated. And my title in the business is Iskotew, which is the boss lady.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. And then Mavericks, we call him Utaskawegao, the one who ashes out the light. Because that's what a fire, that's what my dad told me, that the translation for firefighter would be the one who lashes out the light.
That's so cool. I love how you bring in like those Cree names to this program. I think that's something really important.
Yeah, because this started out that we wanted to do good change and affect Indigenous youth lives in a positive way. And so obviously like there's a race with Indigenous culture, and anytime there's an opportunity to give something an Indigenous name, I always try and push for that. Because the more that we're speaking our language, the more that we're going to retain it. I think it's the University of Saskatchewan that said that we have 25 years. We're in a race for the next 25 years before the Cree language goes to sleep, before Indigenous languages go to sleep. And so I take that very seriously, and that's why I really try and incorporate it as much as I can.
Yeah.
And one of the really interesting things with within our business is when we started it, we didn't really know obviously which way to go, and we just kind of randomly started these ideas. We both have full-time jobs, so time was obviously a big thing on it. But an interesting fact is under 2% of firefighters across all of Canada are Indigenous. So obviously that was one of our big goals, is to increase that number as much as we can, whether it's firefighters, paramedics, first responders in general. So that's kind of something that we looked at doing, and we found a really good opportunity and way to do that.
Nice. We started doing some research because we were applying for grants. We were trying to figure out, how is this how are we going to go on to reserve and conduct these fire camps for students to participate in? Because we didn't want to take like registration fees from the kids themselves. We wanted this to be something that they could just come and enjoy. So we started researching, and yeah, it's less than 2% in all of Canada that firefighters on salary are Indigenous.
Yeah.
And so then it's led into these other things that we started doing as well.
Yeah, other avenues and other opportunities, other needs within the reserves that we find that we have. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of work to still be done on a lot of these reserves. So I think it's a very important thing that any way that we can help. And we always said too is like, even if we get one Indigenous student to get on the path to whether it's firefighting or emergency services, nursing, even if they want to go and get their GED or something, at least we're hopefully inspiring them through our exposure camps and through our other avenues to just do that. So
having that exposure and then also providing that opportunity that otherwise they might not have, or it would be difficult to achieve.
Exactly.
Not all of our participants like decide that they want to be a firefighter as a career. Sometimes it kind of sparks the idea of, even just pursuing post-secondary or finishing their grade 12, and then we kind of mentor them and kind of give them those pathway programs where you can be like, hey, Lakeland College here in town, you can do like the foundational learning program or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's creating pathway programs for Indigenous people, just creating opportunities and putting an idea in their head.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so inspiring too. I love that. So you mentioned with this that you did like lots of research and trying to, like, you had this idea but you weren't quite sure how to really execute it. How has Startup helped you with that?
So Startup was a huge, obviously advocate and huge resource that we did use basically right off the start. So one of the things we had an idea to I think the first thing we actually did was go through a business canvas with Startup. So that was one of the most important things that we did. We didn't realize how much work really we needed to do, and we didn't even realize like the actual business plan, where we needed to go and how we were going to get there, create that kind of roadmap of it. So we sat down and did, I think it was like a 4-hour session. It was very overwhelming, and a lot of the information in there, we actually look back on it, like we just actually reviewed it recently, and we were like, wow, we're nowhere near where we said we were going to be. We've grown so much and had so much different paths and whatnot. So Startup definitely was a huge resource that we used off the start. Also utilizing for the website as well. I think you kind of did most of the website design stuff there, so that was important. I think Tess kind of helped us out with utilizing the website. And it's funny because we go back and we look and see where we started even like a year ago, and we started, like, I remember we started in like started doing it out of a garage, and then we eventually got into a sea can, and we were so excited. Me and Tanisha took like selfies in a sea can with all of our fire gear and all of our stuff in the back, and we're like, just like we'll look at it for like kind of humble beginnings, and then we look back, and now we're renting a shop, so now we've got an actual space where there's actually heat in it. So that's a nice thing.
There's actual heat.
We can actually store stuff.
It's a fire training. You have no heat.
It's kind of ironic that way when you look at it. So it's very, very cool and interesting to see kind of how far that we've came. And obviously we do implicate that a bit with Startup. Kind of that initial help that we did receive from Startup was huge, because I don't think we would have really got our feet off the ground if it wasn't for them. So
business plans are daunting, right? Like, unless you have someone to guide you through it, it's like, okay, like I have all these ideas but I don't know how to structure them properly. I don't know, like, so it's good that we were able to like help you through that process, because like what Holly does, it's fantastic. Like, she's so knowledgeable about everything.
So thorough too.
And so sweet.
And she'll really make you think about things too.
That's one of the biggest things. We wanted somebody to have us go on the right path, and have it documented. So then like a year, and I guess I know you're supposed to review those business plans every year at least. So I know when we did review it this year, we're like, wow, we started doing this, and all of a sudden we're like 10 different directions here. So I think it's important to keep up with it and keep doing it. So
So these like 10 different directions that you're going with this, do you want to elaborate on those a little bit more?
Sure. You want me to talk about it a little bit? So obviously within our business, I'm kind of the firefighter side of it too, and then that's kind of we kind of see the opportunities where we need within our industry, what is needed within our immediate industry, and then what kind of opportunities do we have. So obviously the logistical firefighting stuff, I kind of deal with most of that stuff. So within kind of routes that we went or opportunities that that we have is we started doing an exposure camp. So that was kind of our initial firefighter exposure camp. It was a 2-day program that we would bring in Indigenous students or Indigenous kind of people across Treaty 6 area, and we bring them into either Lakeline College or we bring them into the right on the reserve, which is a bit more convenience for them. Then there's no transportation issues, and then they can actually train on their existing equipment. Yep. So that was one of the things that we started with, is just our firefighter exposure camp, and that was a kind of a 2-day program. We talk about everything from donning and doffing your gear. We do like forcible entry, we do searching, a little bit of fire attack strategies. I do a mental health component on. I talk about the mental health and how it affects a firefighter after so many years, or even after a year, or 5 years, 10 years on the job, what it does to a person's mental health after a while. So I do a kind of a presentation on PTSD, anxiety, depression, substance abuse. I go a little bit into depth on that. And then after, we do a bit of a kind of a ceremony with them, and so we usually try to smudge during the time. Kind of at the end, we do like a closing smudge with them, and then do like almost like a little ceremony, give them a certificate, give them a completion certificate, and then work on them like past going forward, like what's next. Do you want to go down GED level? Do you want a driver's license? Do you want a career in emergency services? What is kind of, so we work with them after on that fact. The other side we do is the intro to paramedic program. So essentially it's the exact same thing, but we just introduce them into paramedic programs. So fire and paramedics and fire and EMS is so intertwined, and they work so close together that you almost have, every firefighter has to be at least a medical first responder or EMR kind of level. So that's kind of an important thing that we do, and then they are certified in CPR level C after they do that as well. The next thing we do is we got into a little bit more certified courses as well. So we do actual certification courses through the fire department. So we'll work kind of in conjunction with income assistance, employment training and careers, and then the fire department. So we kind of do like almost a bit of partnership with them or collaboration with them, and then we'll do courses with them. So the most recent one we did was Good Fish and Whitefish Lake. We taught a 5-day fire fundamentals course. So we kind of partnered with Lakeline College. It was kind of their course that they had. We kind of partnered with them, took out the course to Good Fish and Whitefish, taught them on their existing equipment. And the very interesting thing with that is, as we were going in there, they were like, what else do you guys offer? What else can you guys do? And the only reason why we asked it is they weren't adequately prepared for some of the equipment. Some of the equipment was older, and they weren't up to a certain standard. So we said we can help you out with almost doing it's a little bit of consulting work. So it's almost going into almost like master plans, fire hall service reviews. So we look at what equipment they have, where they need to be, and then we'll kind of help them on that way to get them to a certain level. So we're kind of working with a few reserves on that right now, just to see where their existing equipment is. It's almost like an audit a little bit. So then they want us to kind of come in and do a bit of work with them on that side of it. So that's kind of the other opportunity. And then emergency response planning is kind of the other one. Everywhere across kind of the province, as you know, with wildfires, there is a huge need for disaster planning and emergency response planning. So there's a big opportunity for work in that aspect, and just helping out those reserves, kind of creating these master plans or creating these emergency response plans. So those kind of the routes that we have gone. Not sure if I missed anything, but
nope, it's all there.
Yeah.
Wow, guys do a lot.
It's a lot of different routes that we're going in, a lot of different areas that we kind of get pushed in. So we definitely have there's just a lot of opportunities, a lot of work that still needs to be done. We do a lot. The hardest thing, honestly, is going out and doing check-ins so much, and like driving out and physically seeing them and showing them and gaining the trust off the start is like a huge thing. So we're definitely there on a few places. It's just there's still a lot of work to be done on the places. So.
Yeah. So what reserves do you work with?
We've kind of made our target market, our target audience, Treaty 6 territory. Okay. So we go on Alberta and Saskatchewan. We've done some work with Onion Lake, Frog Lake, Cold Lake, Good Fish, Whitefish, and then we're just starting to get in with Big River and What's the
Wichigan.
Wichigan, yeah.
Nice.
So all in Treaty 6. We will go to Treaty 5, but on special circumstances because it's kind of far.
Yeah.
Pretty far,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you guys have definitely like gotten to a lot of places, worked with a lot of people, especially for only doing this like a year, right?
Yeah, I would contribute that to our road trips. We have like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to call them besides road trips, but we'll just kind of take some swag with us, some brochures, some information, some Padlets, and we've mapped out all the reserves and driving distance in Treaty 6, and we'll just kind of pop in, say hey, and talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and I don't know, I think that like really contributed to how busy we've been.
Yeah, and I think kind of one of the biggest things that we do go is we do a lot of face-to-face with a lot of the people. We're not just on the phone and emailing and talking. We're actually going out there, showing our face, saying like we care. And a big thing is like, and it's kind of a common theme across anywhere, but like a needs assessment. Like what do they need and how can we provide that assistance and how can we will make it work. And sometimes we joke around together and we're like, we overcommit ourselves to a lot of stuff, but generally we're like, we'll overcommit and we'll figure it out after. I know it's not the best business model to use, but we're like, we'll figure it out.
You're like, hopefully we don't burn out.
Yeah. And we kind of came to the spot where like we can hire this stuff out. So we have a lot of capable instructors that come out and do a lot of the work for us. The last few reserves we went to, we started talking about one of their things that they wanted. They're like, we want meal plans. We want people to be able to like almost incorporate that health and wellness side of it. So we have a dietitian that kind of works with us as well, and she'll be kind of doing some like meal plans, certified diabetes education sessions with a lot of the reserves as well, or a few of the reserves as well. So it's just those little opportunities that we do. And we were randomly at like Thunderchild, was that like 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and then they were like, we want an intro to egg course. We're like, oh, okay. We'll make something work. So they're like, there's only one person on the reserve that understands how to operate like machinery equipment like combines and swathers. So they're like, do you have anyone that could kind of do something like that? So we're like,
Just to send out,
yeah, just to send out and like almost do just like a little intro course and do some cheat sheets and just basic maintenance on equipment. So we get a lot of like, not a lot, but we get a few of those kind of requests in. So again, we kind of just like look at it and see how can we help with that, and almost act as kind of that middle person to kind of help them out and kind of work through it with them, and then hire out what we need to.
Yeah. Wow. That's even more
Yeah.
stuff you guys
It's
do. That's insane.
Very random, yeah.
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 Also, we have an e-commerce store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have our t-shirts and hats on there, drawstring bags.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a couple different directions that we've went with this, and it's been exciting because I don't know. We just never say no to anything, and we're like, we'll give it a go, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll know for next time. It's a lot of trial and error and just seeing, I don't know, what we're capable of and what we can handle. It's been really good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of find that we're at the point where we almost pass on a lot of the work too. So we're the ones that are kind of going out there and almost making the relationships with the key people and seeing what we could do and what they need, what they require, and then we will have instructors and different people that are almost subject matter experts in that field, and then they will come out and kind of help us out with what we need, because obviously we can only do so much to go to every single reserve and train on every single thing. So it's kind of a bit of time management on what can we do and how can we best use our time for this stuff. So yeah.
And there's been lots of good support with the program and everything. Like everyone's been really keen to help out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially within with the fire department, there is quite a few. As for like firefighters and paramedic instructors, we have a list of maybe 6 to 8 kind of qualified instructors that we kind of tap on their shoulder and just see like, are you interested in doing it? And the nice thing is if we plan it far enough in advance, they love to do it, and they'll help out, and they'll take time off their job or time off their stuff. So we just want to help out wherever we can, and we definitely seem like we found a way to do it.
Yeah, we kind of have like a roster of instructors. I know sometimes the instructors that we do have, like they put what they have on hold just to come. And a lot of feedback that we get from our instructors is this is like the most fulfilling thing. Like I just love coming out here. And one of the funnest comments I always get is, I just love how funny Indigenous people are. Like I just laugh all day through the course. And those are our instructors just enjoying their time out on reserve or in a facility or whatever. So I don't know. It's nice seeing people make good change for others too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun. Like we have a blast. Like we always have fun when we do it. We always have lots of good comments. We get kind of calls back from our existing customers saying like we want to do this again, and like what else can you offer and where else can we do. So that's one of the beneficial things is we're not just out there doing one course and never talking to them again. It's like we're going to keep up with that relationship, and maybe there's opportunities other areas, maybe there's something else that they need help with. So we're just kind of wanting to make sure that we're following up with them enough and doing the right thing and making sure that we're kind of staying on top of it.
I have all of our participants' emails, and when there's opportunities that come up for like other programming that's that's not even tied to us, like I'll shoot them an email and say, hey, maybe you guys should check this out if you guys are still interested in this path or whatever it is, right? Kind of like a newsletter, but I don't go to the extent of a newsletter.
Yeah. That's amazing too, because especially in places where there are limited opportunities, right? It's good to be aware of the opportunities that are out there.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're providing them with that too.
Kind of an interesting thing when we very first started, back to like our initial start, when we started it, we were going to do this for free. Like and essentially when we looked at, we're like, we almost are, with the amount of hours, like any business owner kind of knows, with the amount of hours that you put in to a job for especially in a startup company, it's very hard to make a huge profit off the start. And like, so we know that we're doing this in the right way. We know that we're committed and passionate for it, because if we were going to do it for volunteering or doing it for free, that was kind of one of our things that we looked at. So we're like, we know our head's in the right spot. We know that we're really making a change with this stuff. So that's kind of an interesting thing off the start, where like any business owner would be like, you're gonna work for free, like good
That's
one.
Also why I was like, this is the stupidest idea I've ever. You're gonna do this all for nothing.
But at the same time, like, it's nice knowing that like you're in it for the right reasons, right? Like you're not like.
I think that's why I kind of jumped in there with Maverick, because I saw something there that it was like he wasn't just trying to come on reserve and make money. It was like he was like, oh, I just want to help out Indigenous youth. I just want to be out on reserve. I want to be doing this, and so I don't know. I just took a chance on him, and it's been okay so far.
Decent, yeah.
It's been all right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing too how like you went to Tanisha, who is an Indigenous woman, because like then you have Indigenous voices too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just my voice behind it too. Like there's a lot of people that I talk to too, to make sure that we're still within our bounds and being respectful, and it's not my voice alone. Yeah. And we always survey our students too, like, what did you think of this? Did you like the elder prayer? Did you appreciate the smudge that we had every morning, or whatever, right? We make sure to include all that and follow kind of what their voices are saying too.
Yeah.
And it was a huge just being honest, it was a huge learning curve for me off the start. Like, I didn't understand anything about Indigenous culture, really. I knew I had the means to learn about it, and I wanted to learn, and definitely Tanisha kind of took me in and made sure that I knew the proper things. And we've joked about it before, but sometimes when we go out and we talk to a reserve, and we were talking to like a program coordinator, she would just tell me like, you just need to shut up when you're talking. Just need to like stop talking so much, because I would overrule, and I would keep like, I have a kind of a loud voice sometimes, so I would like almost interrupt, and then she's like, just shut up. Just stop talking so much. And then so I learned stuff kind of the hard way that way, but it was good.
I've been in business school since like 2014, and I remember taking one course at Lakeland College, and it was called Business Etiquette. And something we learned about there was eye contact, and we learned about handshakes and how to make small talk, and like, you know, how you introduce yourself, and if you're holding a wine glass, hold it like this, and then whatever, right? And I always did appreciate that course, but I always knew that as soon as like I passed like through the reserve, like as soon as I drove in on that road, there's something in me that just changes, and I just know that everything's different. We don't have firm handshakes. Like we just, it's almost like we're just touching each other. It's like just a very light graze. So you don't make that, you kind of read the room about eye contact. Something else is like, you don't just sit down and do business right away. You kind of find relation and connection first. And so that's what Maverick's talking about, where I'm like, could you just shut up? Like, can we just do all this stuff first and make sure we're at that point? But, you know, I've kind of talked to Maverick a little bit, and like he's learned so much, I think. I've watched him go out on his own to reserve too, and he's done a really great job of, you know, remembering those things. Like, I think he's starting to get that switch too.
Yeah.
Where you're leaving like the Western and you're going into Indigenous. because sometimes that's hard for people to learn too, because then they're always like, is that disrespectful if I'm not making eye, and people get nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did a good job training Maverick anyway.
Yeah, I'll give you lots of credit for that. An example was the other day when I went up to Cold Lake, and I was meeting with one of the program coordinators out there, and we didn't talk about business for the first like 25 minutes. There was a kind of a carnival or festival going on, and she told me all about there was a ball tournament and stuff going on there, and we ended up going on a random talk about like NCAA ball, and like then we started talking about hockey, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, I'm here for a reason, and then I was like getting a little sidetracked, but like that's the kind of the important thing of it. And then she kind of built up and kind of gained the trust on a lot of stuff. So then definitely appreciate when Tanisha does come out, and there's lots of still learning that I do have to do. But I think in the run I've definitely learned a lot to not talk over people, and just your basic business stuff was definitely a bit of a learning curve. But
yeah, it is a learning curve. Like I know a lot of people don't know, but I'm going for my Bachelor of Education, and my major is social studies. And so I go to Calgary every summer, and we have like Indigenous revitalization courses that we take. And like it's sometimes tricky to like think in a way that is decolonized, but in those classes they encourage us to. And you actually learn a lot. And there are these, there's this group of Indigenous women that are in all of my courses because we're in like a cohort. And as a class, like we learn the most from them because like they've been through it, they know what it's like. Right? Whereas like from the teachers, a lot of times they aren't even Indigenous, so you don't get to learn that other perspective from them. So it's very important to bring in like those voices, that feedback and everything. So I love it how you guys do that too with your program.
Mm-hmm. And we find that we have to get, sometimes we veer off from our roots, like where we actually, what we're meant to do and not do. We've missed an occasional smudge at the beginning. We've maybe missed a couple of those, and then not brought an elder in a few, and we're like, okay, and then we actually kind of weaned ourselves in, and we're like, hey, we need to actually focus back on like what we're
come back to our roots. Make that a priority.
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is that I can't go every time either.
Yeah.
Me and Maverick do this on the side of our desks. We both have full-time jobs. I think you have 2 jobs.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. So, and then I'm still a student, and it's hard for us sometimes. Like, I'm shocked that we were able to both get in here and be with you and talking.
I'm glad you were able to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked about it and we said like, hey, we should probably really get back to those Indigenous roots and get back to just being that for a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How has the feedback been for your program, like from people that have been through it or are going through it? What do they say about it?
We have like anonymous surveys.
Yeah.
And they really open up in the comments section there if you want to share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of the time it's completely anonymous. We obviously don't keep names, phone numbers, anything on there. There's the option that if they want to put their name on, then absolutely, but I don't think anyone has ever done that. But a lot of the time when we do get our kind of surveys back, we have like 98 to 99% of people enjoy being in that. Things that they want to maybe include a little more, definitely from the mental health aspect, they do say talk a little bit more about your mental health component to it, maybe more resources, and just the overall need for mental health within reserves or within the general population is just a huge need right now. So that's definitely a positive thing that we do. There is still some students around the Lloydminster area that they work at a local grocery store, and every time I go in there, we're on shifts, so we stop in there, and I go in there and he's like, I'm so excited because he actually applied for school in 2026. So we have, I think there's about 3 to 5 that are kind of not fully registered, but like showing a lot of the interest in going. So I know for sure too, we're like in and applied and kind of accepted into the program, into Lakeland College. So obviously that's our whole goal. We said right off the start, we're like, if we could have one Indigenous student every year that gets into, even if it's not into fire school, even if it's into creating on the right path, at least we'll keep doing it and we'll keep going on the right path. So we're not gonna stop till we kind of get till we don't have any more to do. So yeah, that's kind of our goal.
There's still a lot of barriers to success, I would say, within Lloydminster, within Vermilion, like it's within Saskatoon and PA, lots of barriers to success. Some of those things just being like transportation. Sometimes you could be Indigenous, but you are a non-status person and you can't, obtain band funding to have your schooling paid for. childcare is sometimes a holdback. I know, like, public transportation, because we don't have it here. That's a big issue. Yeah, so there's a lot of steps sometimes that they have to take before. And I know for some of the programming, there's requirements like a science 30, a math 30, a complete physical, and like being able to do those things. And so that holds back a lot of students sometimes. That's why when we say at least if one a year goes to school, then we've done something good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just that trickle effect is the more places we get into and the more that we provide our services to a lot of those places, the more people are going to hear about it, and the expansion that we can do with our services. And that's just something that we do joke around, like, okay, when are we going to stop committing to stuff, and when are we going to be able to like not provide this high level service that we do provide? So
it's hard to say no though, right? Because you're trying to help out all of these people and you want to help them as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
true,
tough.
yeah.
It's tough to draw a line, like how much can we help without spreading ourselves too thin.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I think that's a very good way. And one other thing that we definitely should mention too is within our program, we have obviously lots of opportunities, lots of places to go. We have had a lot of people that we could kind of thank for our success. So one of the people that definitely has helped us out a lot is Tanisha's dad. So Mike Young, he kind of helped us out with a lot of the routes on where we need to go, and like even an Indigenous name, and getting ourselves out there more, and finding like opportunities for us and looking in different places. So I would contribute a little bit of the success to kind of how he has helped us out with a lot of this stuff, and helped us out really kind of almost like cycle into what we're actually doing and where the opportunities are and who you need to talk to. And he's definitely helped us out a lot with that. So yeah.
Parents are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call my mom and dad like every day about something. I'm like, I need help right now.
Yeah, I'm a Holy Rosary graduate, so I know your mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, I know Mrs. Young.
Yeah, my dad runs a very similar kind of business structure too. His is called Igwa. His started after ours. And so Igwa means let's go. The time is now, let's go. And he does oil and gas industry training, but his business structure is kind of the same as ours, because he'll do those road trips that I mentioned, and like he got that from me, but then he'll mention us when he goes places, and we'll mention him. So it's I don't know, it's a very good relationship with my dad and us. Yeah.
A lot of like cross-promotional stuff too. Like I know we've been out in certain reserves and we've talked about the program and say, you need to talk to this person. Like this is, we always ask, like the biggest thing I always go back to is like, what is the need that the reserve requires? Like, do they need well servicing training? Do they need more people for driver training? Do they need emergency response planning? Do they need meal plans? Do they need, whatever the case is, like we just kind of want to know where they, almost like that needs assessment, like what they need there, and then we'll kind of build our programs around that. So that's where I think our partnership, but like kind of relationship with your dad is very important with that we can kind of do some cross promotional and talk about ourselves and talk about him on these different places. So
yeah, my whole upbringing, just because you've mentioned my mom, I've always witnessed, even as a child, my parents helping Indigenous people. Like right from when I was like old enough to remember. My parents, our family is from Cumberland House, Saskatchewan, so it's in Treaty 5. That's why I was like, we'll go there for special occasions, just to there. But I remember my dad going on to reserve, and he would go and say, hey, do you guys want to work? And he would bring them back to Lloydminster. And he would try and get them set up and try and get them going. And he was kind of one of the first people I know in my life who recognized barriers to success and recognized the things that we take for granted, like the simplicities of even just urban living. And my mom's job, obviously, in the school is the Indigenous program coordinator, where she brought a lot of culture into the Catholic school division in Lloydminster. And she's been doing that for over 25 years in the same job. And so I've helped her watch students, like just help students with everything. I know we had one student that said, I think I would have been on the streets if I hadn't met you, Mrs. Young. And some of the stories that she gets told, and then she'll relay, like, she obviously doesn't include names, but you can just feel that there's good change there. And watching the people that my dad brought from Cumberland House, who are really successful in Lloydminster now and have started their family lives here. I don't know. I've always just grown up watching them help, and so when I came to be an adult and I was looking into careers and things, I remember one of my first like official like college jobs was at the Chamber of Commerce, and they were hiring for an Aboriginal program coordinator to help out with the Economic Partnership Summit, which is a really great summit, by the way, and it's coming up in October. And I started there, and it wasn't as much change as what my parents did, because my parents touched people's lives and it always rippled like throughout the communities. And so this position came up at Lakeland College as the manager, and then this came up with me and Maverick, and so I'm kind of proud to be walking in my parents' footsteps, and like not the exact same footsteps, but like galloping along or whatever.
Yeah.
But really good opportunity here with Maverick to kind of do what my parents showed me their whole lives.
Yeah, those parents were your role models for you, and now you get to be that role model for other people.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, I always call them for anything. Like anytime a student says like, it's not working out for me at the interval home, I need to go here. I don't know where I am, I don't have a phone or anything, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I'll call my mom and I'm like, hey, I need help, I need to do this, this, and this, and like they'll just know.
Yeah, moms know everything.
Yeah.
It's great.
They're both so familiar with all of our community resources, and they're like, oh yeah, we've been there before, you need to go do this, this, and this. And so always calling them, always asking. I don't know what I would do without them.
Yeah, it's so good that you have that support.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sorry, that was a bit of a...
No, it was amazing. Don't apologize. It was so good. So I think that we're almost ready to wrap up the episode. Is there anything that you would like to announce to the listeners? Anything coming up? Anything that you'd like to share? Any final remarks?
I don't think we really have anything.
Check out the merch on the e-commerce site.
Dang, I don't really know. Because most of our work, like, you kind of have to be... like of that reserve, so it's not like we have events within the city or anything, but check out the merch on the website.
What is your website, social media, where we can find you guys?
So our website is iskotewtraining.ca, and I think we just have one Facebook page. I've not dabbled into Instagram yet because I just haven't
done it yet.
You're busy people.
But find us in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for coming on the show. It was
Thanks
awesome.
for having us. Yeah, appreciate it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was
thanks.
fantastic. It was so great to hear about the story.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. And listen to this wherever you get your podcasts. See you.